What's going on, guys? Today I'm back with another hat format replay review for you guys. If you're interested in sending in your hat format replays, you can go down to the video description and find all the information on how to go about sending those in. Anyways, the match I have for you today, we have Scenic, who is going to be on Chronomaly Artifact, versus Ephrain 55537, who is going to be on Infernity, two decks that I personally really enjoy, so hopefully this will be a good match, and without further ado, let's get straight into it. So here we will see Scenic win the rock, paper, scissors and get to start this one out. Opening hands, we see Chronomaly Crystal Bones, Sanctum, Moral Tack, Forbidden Lance, and Chronomaly Moai, and on the other side we see Stygian Street Patrol, Upstart, Palabyrinth, Vanity's Emptiness, and Thrasher. So right away looking at this, I would say that Ephrain has the better hand, though it's really going to depend on, their draw for turn and the Upstart Goblin, and, kind of similar with Scenic here, we will get to see what they draw for turn here, getting a copy of the Crystal Skull. So, that's actually not the worst card to draw here, but let's see how they choose to play this one out, because what they could always do is just thinking about, some of the plays that are here is they could just normal summon the Crystal Bones if they wanted to, discard for the Crystal Skull, grab another copy of Moai if they're on 2, special summon double Moai and make a rank 5, and then they still have the Sanctum, Moral Tack, and Lance as defense, or they could play it a little slower and just go with the artifact line, but let's see how they choose to play it out. So here it looks like they are just going to set 3, holding all of the Chronomaly cards, and over to Ephrain, who draws a copy of Soul Charge, so very good draw there. I guess we'll also have to see if this Chronomaly artifact deck is on Scythe, because that could definitely slow Ephrain down here. So let's see, they go for Upstart, getting a copy of Summoner Monk, very strong draw there. And they are going to start with the Thrasher. After that, they're going to normal summon the Street Patrol. That just feels wrong because they don't really have a way to get the Monk out of hand unless they plan to go for like a Soul Charge play and dump something like a Greffer. I think it might have been better to go for the Summoner Monk there just in case. But let's see what they choose to do. A bit interesting play. They're going to overlay for H.A.T. Oh, okay. So it seems like they're just trying to clear things out here rather than trying to full combo off, though I feel like with the Soul Charge you're gonna kind of bait stuff anyways, but I guess at the same time this will just clear the way for a Soul Charge play if they really want to, but they're still gonna be stuck with this Summoner Monk in hand, so I think it might have honestly still been better to summon the Summoner Monk, because that way even if this play does get stopped they can Soul Charge it back and they'll still have a spell in hand to be able to bring back, or to use the Summoner Monk to get a Greffer or something and then get the Street Patrol out of hand regardless. But let's keep going and see, and they're going to activate the H.A.T. and let everything blow up here. Okay, and so then the Sanctum here will trigger, as well as the Moral Tack if they choose to. Here they are just going to blow up that copy of H.A.T. here. After that, setting that copy of Emptiness, going for a Soul Charge play here, going for the Street Patrol and the Thrasher. Just keep in mind that Thrasher must first be special summoned while you control no monster, so here they are able to Soul Charge it back. Anyways, after that, they're going to go for 101 and just take that copy of Moral Tack over to Scenic, who now gets a copy of Sanctum, and they're going to go to main phase and special summon that copy of Crystal Bones, activate the effect of Crystal Skull, that if you control a face-up Chronomaly monster, you can discard this card to the graveyard and add a Chronomaly monster from deck or graveyard to your hand, except itself, and that's a hard once per turn. So here adding a copy of Moai, so basically doing sort of what I had mentioned previously, but here that Emptiness is going to be flipped, which is just going to stop Scenic in their tracks, even with this Sanctum is kind of a dead card here, which is very unfortunate. So over to Ephrain, who gets a copy of Greffer. Okay, so the Greffer wasn't far off. They're going to normal summon it and just go to battle phase, running over the copy of Crystal Bones, and then attacking in with the Greffer over to Scenic, who gets a Soul Charge, again, a dead card. And Ephrain is going to get that Necromancer, but just keep putting pressure with these. If this Emptiness is doing work, why try to change it here? So here it looks like they are going to set the Necromancer. Scenic is going to get a copy of the Gordian Knot, which unfortunately is another card that just special summons. So they're just going to set it as a wall. Ephrain gets a copy of Tin Goldfish. And then it looks like they're going to use Greffer, discarding the Summoner Monk to send a copy of Hyris. Hyris effect is going to add a copy of Archfiend, and the emptiness is going to leave here. They are going to then normal summon the Tin Goldfish after setting the field spell and special summon the copy of Archfiend. And Archfiend is going to trigger to get a copy of Launcher. Honestly, I feel like this play, almost at the rate they were at, is a little greedy because they were doing so well with the emptiness up. And maybe they just don't know what the defenders can possibly do in the Chronomaly deck, but it feels like getting rid of that. They've now turned on Scenic's copy of Sanctum, which they knew that they were on the artifacts because they had already seen a Moral Attack and a Sanctum, so it just feels a little greedy here. But anyways, overlaying for a copy of Direwolf, and if they go after the monster, no, they're going after the back row, which is going to be the Sanctum, which can be chained. And so here the Sanctum and the Moral Attack are going to trigger. So here, they're talking about the once per turn clause on the Sanctum. So it is a little weird at times, but you can activate Sanctum the special once per turn, and then you also have the ability when it's destroyed. So yeah, you can activate both here. So here they are popping the Palabyrinth, as well as I believe they pop the copy of Greffer there. So moving forward, it looks like they are going to set the launcher, flip up the Necromancer, and use the effect to bring back the Archfiend. And then Archfiend is going to trigger to add another copy of Archfiend, banish the Street Patrol to summon the other copy of Archfiend. And here Scenic is just going to scoop it up. They know it's over. They didn't really have anything. But moving on into game number 2, they will get to start this one out again. Opening hands, we see Forbidden Lance, Max C, Crystal Bones, Lance, and Crystal Skull. And on the other side, we see Allure, Infernity Break, Rhoda, Night Beam. Interesting to see that. And Infernity Break. Night Beam is like a card that Infernity does play from time to time, but I feel like we see it more so in like Vegas format, for example. But really cool card. Anyway, Scenic will get a draw for turn here, getting a copy of Crystal Bones. So kind of similar to last game with their hand, they're going to normal the Crystal Bones this time and discard the Skull to add a copy of Gordian Knot. From here, they're going to just set one Lance over to Efrain, who gets a copy of Thrasher. Here, they're going to go for Rhoda, getting a copy of Armageddon Knight. Here, they're going to Night Beam, getting rid of the Lance, special summon the Thrasher, normal the Armageddon Knight, and here Scenic is going to chain that copy of Max C, and it looks like Efrain was sending that copy of Hyris, which is going to add a copy of Archfiend here. And it looks like Efrain doesn't want to overextend, which there's almost a reason to, given they had no other back row. So, you know, they kind of had a clear way, but again, it might just come down to not a lot of people know what some of the Chronomalies do. So taking the precaution and not taking the Max C challenge here and just running over the Armageddon Knight. And after that, going to main phase 2, not even overlaying or anything, no reason to, not even going for an Allure play or anything like that, and just passing it back over to Scenic, who now gets a copy of DD Crow, very strong draw. Now they can special summon the Crystal Bones because the opponent controls a monster and they control none, and it's also, when it's summoned that way, you're able to special summon a Chronomaly monster from your hand or graveyard. Very strong card. They're going to bring back that copy of Crystal Skull and overlay for Gorgonic Guardian. This card is so good. Unfortunately, it is locked behind rock-type monsters, but it says once per turn during either player's turn, detach an Xyz material from this card, target a face-up monster your opponent controls, its attack becomes 0, and if it does, its effects are negated, and it lasts until the end of this turn, and once per turn, you can target a monster on the field with 0 attack, destroy it. So very strong card here. They're going to use the effect and make the Thrasher 0, then use the secondary effect to destroy the Thrasher, go to battle phase, and run over the Armageddon Knight. This being a quick effect is also just really strong. Main phase 2, setting the copy of Forbidden Lance over to Efrain, who now gets a copy of Compulse. They're going to go for Allure, getting Archfiend, and Stygian, my bad. And they're going to banish one of those Archfiends, setting 2, and then just setting the Street Patrol and Break. So again, just one of those interesting scenarios where if they really wanted to, they could have gone and summoned the Street Patrol, crashed it into the Gorgonic Guardian. Obviously, that would bait the Gorgonic Guardian negate. Then main phase 2, they would set, whatever traps or whatever, banish it and go for the Archfiend. Obviously, they don't know that Scenic has the DD Crow, but that was also an option for them. But again, playing it very safe here is also completely fine. Back over to Scenic, who now gets a copy of Birdman. They're going to go battle phase and run over the Street Patrol. Here, the Compulse is going to be able to be activated in end phase on the Gorgonic Guardian, but then Scenic is going to chain that Lance, keeping it around over to Efrain, who now gets a copy of MST, and so they're on MST and Nightbeam. Very interesting. Here, setting another back row, setting the last back row, which was that MST, and then normal summoning the Archfiend. Here, going to battle phase, just trying to bait the Guardian here, which is going to work, and the Archfiend's going to get destroyed. They're going to take some damage, and now Scenic gets a copy of Macro Cosmos, which is really, really weird given that, this deck is on artifacts, and even then, things like the Crystal Bones and even the Skull and even Max C's kind of want to go to graveyard. Like, for the Skull to actually work, you discard this card to the graveyard. Same with Max C. You send this card from your hand to the graveyard. So under macro, you actually can't even use those. Like, the Crystal Bones will be able to summon from hand, but that feels like an interesting choice from Scenic here. But let's see, going to battle phase and attacking in. Maybe they just don't have that much cards to actually combat, Infernity, but we've already seen Crow, we've seen Max C, so I don't know. I think that's kind of a lot, or a big ask to actually play the macro. Maybe they actually sided out of the artifacts, because we haven't seen any so far, but they also haven't really gone much into their deck. So let's see if we see any more. Here, MST is activated on that macro, so I guess we'll never know. Efrain draws a Tin Goldfish, passes it back over to Scenic, who gets a Call of the Haunted. They're going to normal summon Birdman, attack in. So just doing a bit of chip damage, setting one back over to Efrain, who's going to set a Tin Goldfish. They drew the Palabyrinth, which they're also going to set. No, I guess they will have, artifacts now that we're seeing this ignition here. But let's see, going to battle phase, and they can't get over this Tin Goldfish here. So they're just going to set one back over to Efrain, who gets a Summoner Monk, which they can normal switch to defense, overlay for a copy of Lavalval Chain. Now they can start kind of going off, and they're going to send a copy of Necromancer. That's also interesting. What was this back row? They had double break, so maybe they should have stacked here. There's one Archfiend, two Archfiends, so there's presumably another Archfiend in deck. I would have probably just stacked that to the top, or even, like, if you want the Necromancer, stack the Necromancer for the following turn. But okay, here they are going to run over the Gorgonic Guardian over to Scenic, who now gets a copy of Moai. They can normal the Gordian Knot, special the Moai, make so that Gordian Knot is now at level 5. Break is going to activate, banishing the Necromancer and popping the Moai. After that, Ignition is going to go after the last back row, which is the Break, which can be chained, popping the Birdman here, setting a copy of Moral Tech. Call the Haunted is activated, bringing back the copy of Moai. Let me just see this. Yeah, this can be special summon. So now they can go for a rank 5, going for a Volcasaurus and burning them out of the game by getting rid of that Lavalval Chain. And moving on into a game number 3, actually very interesting to see it go this far. For this game 3, we will get to see Efrain start this one out. Opening hands, we see Crystal Bones, Crystal Skull, Max C, Moral Tack, and Macro. Very good to see that copy of Max C going second against Infernity. And Efrain opens Dark Grepher, MST, Infernity Break, Archfiend, and Upstart Goblin. So also a pretty decent hand here. Obviously, the Max C will hurt a little bit. And even, again, interesting to see the Macro in the main for going second. But here, Efrain will get a draw for turn, getting a copy of Barrier, so they're already like halfway set up. They're going to go Upstart, getting a copy of Rhoda, very strong, which here they can get the copy of Thrasher, and now they can kind of just full combo, maybe, if, depending on where this Max C comes down, specialing the Thrasher, summoning the Grepher, using the effect, and Maxi's going to be chained to that, again, sending that copy of Hyris, and going for Archfiend. After that, they're going to overlay for a copy of Lavalval Chain, detaching a material. Scenic drew a copy of Ignition. They're probably going to send, the Street Patrol here, setting two back row. That is definitely wrong. I don't want to, necessarily point out when things are, that wrong, But at this rate, you've already given your opponent, what, like 1 or 2 draws? I think it was just the 1 draw. But you already have the copy of Barrier, and you have a break in hand. At that rate, you definitely, I feel, should set the copy of Break, banish the Stygian, summon the Archfiend. Archfiend will get the third, or was it second copy of Break, and that way, off of giving your opponent just like an extra draw, you have the Barrier and double Break, which just feels better in this situation. Or if you weren't going to fully commit to your combo, like it just feels really weird. Like at that rate, like I don't know. I don't really like how that played out so much there, but let's see if it matters here. Ignition's going to activate, blind hitting the copy of Barrier. After that, special summoning the Bones, activating the Skull, and here they're going to get another copy of the Crystal Skull. They're just going to set 2 and pass it over. Efrain gets a copy of Allure. Lavalval Chain's going to be able to be activated. They're going to chain the macro, but again, MST is going to deal with that copy of macro, sending another Street Patrol. Now they're going to set 2, go for that Street Patrol, and summon Archfiend. Maxi is going to be chained again, drawing a copy of Crystal Skull. Archfiend is going to go for that copy of Break that I mentioned last time, going into battle phase, running over the Bones and attacking in with Lavalval Chain. Back over to Scenic, who gets a Call of the Haunted. They're going to special summon the Bones, use the effect, getting the Skull from Graveyard. After that, they're going to use the Skull in hand to be able to add another Crystal Bones here. And from there, they're going to go for a copy of Gorgonic Guardian, which is going to be met with the Infernity Break to pop it. And they are going to chain the effect to make the Archfiend's attack 0. After that, special summoning the Bones, which is not a hard once per turn. If I'm not mistaken, when you do, you can special summon 1. Yeah, no, there is no hard once per turn on the Crystal Bone, so they can just summon it back, use the effect, bring back the Skull yet again, and go for a Mech-Whip Engineer this time. And from here, it looks like they're just going to run over the Archfiend here. The Break is going to be chained to the attack, so Mech-Whip Engineer is going to use its effect, detaching 1 to protect itself so it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects this turn. Main phase 2, setting Call the Haunted over to Efrain, who gets a Palabyrinth, which they're going to activate, so now Archfiend gets a boost. They're going to go to battle phase, Lavalval Chain over the Mech-Whip Engineer, attack in with the Archfiend. Over to Scenic, who now gets a Moral Attack, which they're just going to have to set here. Efrain gets a copy of Necromancer, which is a decent draw here, which, looking at this, I almost want to say that maybe they should have set this or specialed it, unless, did they already show all 3 breaks? 1, 2, no, they potentially still had 1 more break, so even to bluff it, but I guess they want to play it safe in case this back row is something real. So just attacking in with both. And it's not looking good for Scenic, who gets a copy of DDG, which they're going to set over to Efrain, who gets a Soul Charge. Just going to battle phase. Call the Haunted's going to bring back the Mech-Whip Engineer. They're going to redeclare, running over with the Lavalval Chain, and then attacking for game. And that is going to be game. So Efrain takes it with Infernity. Not the cleanest plays, I'll say. And a bit of awkward hands from Scenic, but overall, again, 2 really cool decks. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it, comment any questions or videos you want to see in the future, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notified anytime I put a new video out, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to go down to the video description to find out how you can send in your hat format replays. Whether you won or lost, if you thought the deck you or your opponent was playing was pretty cool, feel free to send those in. I'm sure a lot of people would love to see it. But anyways, guys, I will see you in the next video.